Hey everybody, so I've been kind of terrible at filming wrap-ups pretty much the whole of 2021, but I have read some really good books over the last 2 months, June and July, and I wanted to share my thoughts with you. So that's what this video is. It's my wrap-up of what I've been reading lately. So hi, my name is Angie. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. If you've been coming for a while, I always love when you guys come and comment and interact with the video, especially these types of videos where I'm talking about the books I've read and my thoughts on them. I want to know if you feel the same way or if you feel completely differently. And so for this past 2 months, June and July, I've read 6 books. And so when I was looking at June, I was like, oh, I should do a wrap up. I was like, but I've only read 2 books. I was like, okay, we'll combine June and July and it'll be a better wrap up. And so I was looking at the books I read, and of the 6, 3 of them were 3 stars, and I think 2 were 4, and then I had 1 5-star book. And so I'll just kind of go in that order as I run through what I read. So let me start with the Riley Sager books I read. So I did read 2 Riley Sager books in these past 2 months. Actually, I read quite a few of his books lately because I did a fun reading blog about that, which I will link above if you like Riley Sager thriller type books. I really enjoy them, especially in the summertime. And so I've been reading a lot. But over this June and July, I read The Last Time I Lied, as well as the new one, Survive the Night. So let me talk about both of these. They actually were both 3 stars for me. So we'll kick it off with a little Riley Sager. So to start with, The Last Time I Lied. This is a dual timeline book, but it's the same person and the same location. So it's about this girl, Emma, as she attended camp, like summer camp, in her teens, as well as Emma as she comes back as an adult. And so the basic plot of the book is that something happened at the camp when she was first there, and she feels somewhat responsible. She's somewhat involved. We don't know what that is. Like, she remembers, so it's not like she has lost her memory or anything like that. But she goes back to the camp to kind of figure out some things because it doesn't all make sense. Her friends or her bunkmates went missing and then never returned. And then she's invited back to the camp as kind of like an art teacher, so camp counselor, and it all starts rolling again. So I really liked the mystery of it. I felt really drawn into kind of what happened in the past as well as what was currently happening on the campus, but I wasn't scared at all. I think that's probably partly why I ended up giving it a lower star rating, was because I wasn't scared. And I feel like I like Riley Sager books because they're just the right level of scariness for me, because I don't like horror. That's just too far. That's too scary for me. And so I like his books because they scare me, but not too much. I mean, there was many aspects I loved. I loved the like camp outdoor environment. So the setting was fantastic. Like I said, I really liked the mysteries and some of the twists were really good. I enjoyed that. I didn't really like her character, the main character, Emma. She wasn't my favorite. And there were some setups in the book that were just a little too convenient or obvious. And I won't get into too much of that. But otherwise, I really did like it. And if you want to see some of my reactions as I'm reading through the book, go check out that vlog. It is spoiler free, so it's not full of spoilers, but it is at the same time I'm reading it. So that's pretty fun. Anyway, so that's The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager. And then I picked up his newest book, Survive the Night. I was really excited about this. I mean, it's just a really pretty cover. There's so many things about this book that I was just so excited about. Maybe a little too excited, to be honest. So the book is about this girl who signs up for a ride share at college and gets in this car with this boy from campus, man, and then drives into the night. And then she starts to have kind of suspicious feelings about him. Suspicious in the sense that she feels like he's a serial killer. There's a serial killer on campus, all those things. So I did really like that premise. I felt like it was a little different from some of the other Riley Sager books, and I liked that. But as for her character, I didn't love it. I don't love unreliable narrators, which is how I would classify her character, as like you're not sure if what she's saying or thinking or feeling is real. And it works in some stories, and it did work. Like, it definitely, you needed it for this story. So I understand why it was used, but I just don't always like that plot device. And actually, when I was reading this book really reminded me of The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Kind of meets No Exit by Taylor Adams. Because it's all set in one night. It's at night, but then it has this unreliable narrator aspect to it. But I love both of those books. So this book, why I ended up more of a 3-star is I was really liking it. I was scared the first half or so when she was in the car with this guy, and I'm just like, oh no, he's a serial killer. And it was just, it really pulled me in, and I was just really feeling her story. So I really enjoyed that. There was a twist kind of around the middle that it was like, what? So that was great. And I was like, I am going to love this book. It's like totally going to be a 5-star. It's going to be my favorite Riley Sager. And then it just kind of not fizzled. It was just a little bit too predictable for me. But I still did enjoy it. It still was a really fun read. And I still would recommend it to people. It's just not my favorite of his books. So those are my thoughts on the new Riley Sager book. Let me know down below if you have read it yet. Because I just don't know. I was expecting something a little different. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know down below. So those two were 3-star books. So the other 3-star book I read was for a book club. This was our June book club pick for the book club I run, the Adventures in History book club, The Children's Blizzard by Melanie Benjamin. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed some aspects of it so much. It is about a storm that went through the Dakota territories in like the late 1800s. Yep, 1888. And it was just really bad. And what made it really bad is that it was just really sudden and it was really extreme. And so people would get caught out in the storm and they would freeze. So this book is based on a true story. And it also takes the aspect of children at schoolhouses and kind of the main characters being school teachers. And what did they decide to do? Did they decide to stay at the schoolhouse? Did they decide to like venture out in the storm and try and make it? And those decisions. So the things about this book I really loved. I was so drawn into the story of the blizzard. It was like very impactful. In my vlog, I described it as like watching a train wreck and you just cannot do anything. You're just like, you have to keep reading because it's just like almost so horrifying. And so like, what would I do in this situation sort of book. And so that part was excellent. And so I do go more into my thoughts and feelings of this book in the vlog. So I always do a vlog for the books we read for the book club. And it's spoiler filled. And so in these books, I just kind of tell you all my thoughts and I react to everything. And so you can see a little bit more about what I didn't love about this book, but it has to do more with the characters, less with the setting and the event. The setting and the event I really liked. The characters weren't my favorite. So go see that video because I don't want to rehash too much of it here. But anyway, this I read in June, 3 stars. So getting into the 4-star books. So this book is a beautiful book. I've been trying to kind of finish it for a while, and I'm really glad I recently picked it up and just finished it. So it is The Lost Apothecary by Sarah Penner. So it's marketed a bit like a fantasy book, historical fiction fantasy book, but I would put it way more in the historical fiction section than the fantasy section. 100%. I don't really feel like there was very much magic or fantasy type things going on in here at all. But it was a very enjoyable historical fiction book. So it was a dual timeline book where you had these events that were happening in the past in London, 18th century London. And then in the present day, you have this woman who is a kind of like wannabe historian who is researching and looking into the events of what is dubbed as the apothecary murders, which surround this woman who would give out poisons to other women to help them with their problems, usually their husbands. And this story kind of dives into what happened. And I really liked that. I liked the historical fiction aspect. There was these 2 women, kind of the apothecary woman and then this young woman who was helping her sometimes. But it really focused on a short time in the story, but I really enjoyed it. I felt like the writing really drew me in, and I was very curious as to like what this woman did, how she did it, like what were some of the women that came to her door, and then how did it all work? So I liked that aspect of it. I wasn't as big a fan of the present day woman, the woman that was doing all the research. I really disliked her kind of storyline, which had a lot to do with her failing marriage and her husband, and she kind of leaves town after he cheats on her, and then she goes to London and she finds like a historical artifact that kind of can tie back to this story. And then he comes to town and he's just a jerk, and it plays out this whole storyline that I was just not that interested in. I'm just not a fan a lot of times of the contemporary fiction sort of plot lines, like the infidelity plot line and all of that. I don't know. I wasn't really enjoying that at all. And so that probably is what dropped it for me. If this book could have been only set in the 1800s, I would have loved it because that part was just fascinating to me. And I thought it was really well written. I believe this is her debut novel, and so I thought it was really well done. So I am definitely going to check out any books that she puts out from here on. I really enjoyed this. Okay, the next book I picked up, which was also a 4-star, that is very appropriate for this channel and some of my unique reading tastes, was this book. And so this is The End of October by Lawrence Wright. It's a science type thriller. It's about a pandemic. This actually was published, I think, in March of 2020. So this isn't a story that came out with inspiration from 2020. It came out just really right around the time this was all happening worldwide. But the plot line in here was a little more intense. And so it's about this man who's like an infectious disease specialist. He works for WHO, and he goes out into the field to like investigate these like new and emerging viruses or something like that. So at the beginning of the book, he goes to, I believe it was Indonesia, and there was this outbreak, and it was strange in some ways, and then they found out it was kind of along the lines of the flu virus, but really, really bad, and it had mutated in a way that none of the drugs like Tamiflu or anything really worked. And then it plays the story out as it starts to kind of spread, and then it spreads globally. And I was telling my husband, some of the interesting things I found about this book was how it talked in the terms that I now know. It's like, well, shelter in place, lower the curve, all these kind of buzzwords that are around infectious disease that aren't in people's normal vocabulary, but they are now because of 2020, were just tossed around in this book. But the effects of the virus in this book were much more substantial and scary, and I'm glad this is fiction and this didn't happen because I thought the science was very well done. I really did enjoy reading about the scientific teams as they were trying to figure things out and trying to kind of trace it back, and where did this come from? Did some country make it, or did it come from somewhere else? Things like that I just found really, really interesting since that's part of my background, and I love that. The only reason it's not a 5-star for me is there was some politics for me that just like, I just didn't like. It helped the story. It made it more of a like thriller and interesting because I know a lot of people aren't as interested in the science as say I am, but I would have just enjoyed it if it was just all about the virus and the pandemic and the science. But it was really fun. I really enjoyed it, but it is definitely a pandemic book. So if you're not ready for that, I wouldn't pick it up. But if you are okay with that, this is very good, very entertaining book. Okay, so the only book that was 5 stars for me was another book club pick. This was our July book club pick, Where the Crawdads Sing. Like I said, I feel like I was the last one to read this. This has been going around for a while, but I really enjoyed it. I won't get too much into it because, again, I'll link my spoiler-filled vlog if you're interested in seeing some of my thoughts, reactions as I went through the book, because there's some really good parts where I'm just like, bah, I can't believe that happened, sort of things. But what I really liked, I loved the setting. I loved the nature setting. I really felt like the author did an excellent job of pulling you in to what it would have felt like to live in the North Carolina marshes. Because the story is about this girl who gets abandoned in the marshes. She gets left by her family at a fairly young age, and then she is forced to survive and chooses to live on her own and does not seek like help or social services or anything like that. She chooses instead to live off the land. And there's so many aspects to the book that I just felt very drawn into. I think I really appreciated and was interested in how she did that, how she survived, how she thrived with what she had. So that part was really good. And also there was this aspect of the story that had to do with this murder that happened in the future, and she's like a main suspect of that when she's in her maybe early 20s, something like that. I can't remember exactly how old she was, but it's later in her life, and that storyline is told throughout the book, and I liked it. I found that murder mystery aspect to be very interesting. And so honestly, I'm not sure if this is really a historical fiction book. It felt more murder mystery or nature book. But it's all wrapped up into different genres that I really do enjoy, which is probably why this book ended up being a 5-star for me. Also, it was just very entertaining. It's a good book. And so I do recommend this, and go see my vlog if you just want more of my thoughts, but it's a very enjoyable book. So 5 stars for sure. So those were the only 6 books I read over the last 2 months, and I'm hoping I can read more this fall because I just really enjoy it. But we'll see. It's not that big of a deal. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up. Please let me know down below your thoughts on some of these books. Did you enjoy them? Have you read them? Are they on your TBR? Let me know all the things, because that's why I like wrap ups. I like to engage a little bit more with you guys. So I hope you all are doing well and enjoying kind of this tail end of summer. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next book video. All right, take care.